Central China is a treasure house of rare and unusual animals that live in the bamboo forest of Sichuan province. It's a land of surprises, with 1.5-meter water dragons that make their home in the region's many rivers. And there are flowers of surpassing beauty in the forest. Many of the creatures here have lives that are shaped by bamboo, none more so than the giant panda. This is the story of some of the animals in China's premier panda reserve in Wulungshan, the mountains of the sleeping dragon. Bamboo is an immensely useful plant. The Chinese have used it for centuries. This giant grass has 1,000 uses, from medicines to building materials for rafts, roof tiles, and scaffolding. Every Chinese village has its bamboo grove, and for the local people, the hollow canes are an invaluable resource. Panniers, seats and fences are all built of bamboo. But perhaps most important of all, split canes can be woven, enabling the village craftsmen to make everything from sun hats to baskets. But while larger kinds of bamboo are more useful to people, smaller mountain varieties are crucial for many of the sleeping dragon's wild creatures. Probably the most dependent on bamboo is China's most enigmatic animal, the giant panda. This female is one of 150 that survive in the reserve at Wulong. The bamboo's fibrous nature has molded many of the panda's features. Its teeth are flattened, and its large cheek muscles provide the grinding power, giving the giant panda its round, appealing face. But the giant panda's short gut, more suitable for digesting meat, can only absorb a tiny proportion of the bamboo's nutrients. So these animals live on a nutritional knife edge, only just extracting sufficient energy from the foliage to survive. Giant pandas inhabit mountain forests of birch, fir, and hemlock. And beneath the canopy, the all-important bamboo grows as a kind of undergrowth, up to 2 meters high. In spring, bamboo shoots are among the first to break ground. Fed by a large underground stem, they push from the earth in a surge of growth. The bamboo's rate of growth is prodigious. From small beginnings, it races towards the light at up to 12 centimeters every day. New shoots are juicy and high in protein, and far too tasty for a giant panda to ignore. Spring is a good time for giant pandas. This is when the bamboo is at its most nutritious, and they thrive solely on shoots. They carefully strip away the hairy outer sheaths and consume the nourishing interiors. Their appetite's enormous. Each one eats 50 kilograms of shoots a day. That's over half its body weight. The mountains of the sleeping dragon host another bamboo connoisseur, the red panda, known to the Chinese as the firefox. It's far smaller than its piebald cousin and shares the same taste in food. But there are differences. New leaves at the top of the bamboo are the most desirable. Its bigger relative can simply bend down the bamboo stems, but the red panda is light and agile enough to climb up and reach them. While the giant panda crams in as much as possible, the red panda is far more fastidious, selecting only a few leaves at a time and chewing them thoroughly to extract every morsel of nourishment. Primarily a leaf eater, the red panda capitalizes on the spring bonanza of bamboo shoots. Even so, it tends to pick and choose much more than its larger cousin, using its nose to smell out delicious ripe shoots. Although it ranges from northern India through Burma into China, the red panda is a rare animal. There may be only 2,000 of them in the wild. Pandas are not the only creatures to make bamboo their home. A female parrotbill has reason to be anxious. The vertical stems support her nest. And a foraging panda could accidentally tear her house apart. The red panda's forepaws have evolved a modified wrist bone that acts as a thumb, allowing the animal to hold and manipulate the bamboo stems whilst feeding. These thickets also provide the parrotbill with food. They are the only birds that tackle bamboo shoots, tearing off the protective sheath with their strong parrot-like bills. But bamboo suffers its greatest damage from a much smaller predator. Seemingly strong green shoots suddenly stop growing, then turn sickly yellow and die. The cause of the disease is this tiny fly. The anthomyid fly lays its eggs inside the growing shoots, and the grubs which hatch out are voracious and deadly to their host. The larvae spend the entire period of their development inside the plant, literally eating it alive. In bad years, they wipe out over a third of all new growth. People, too, have cleared bamboo. They've lived in the shadow of the sleeping dragon for thousands of years, and the trees of the lower valleys have long since given way to fields of maize and sorghum. Sichuan's central plain has been farmed for over 3,000 years. The rich soil and benign climate accounts for the name Tianfu, the heavenly kingdom. But if the lowlands belong to the farmers, in the mountain forests the wild creatures still hold sway. This is where the bamboo is fully exploited, sometimes from beneath the ground. The culprit is wholly dependent on bamboo. It's the bamboo rat. This rodent rarely ventures above ground. There's no need when its disappearing bamboo trick brings its food from the surface with the minimum of risk. Bamboo is tough on teeth, but the rat's huge and continuously growing incisors are a solution to the problem of dental wear and tear. By pruning the bamboo of its stems, this animal stimulates new growth, which in turn helps to generate fresh shoots for both rats and pandas. This male has something other than food on its mind. It's late April, and the giant panda's breeding season, a time when finding a mate even takes precedence over munching bamboo. These animals are solitary and not particularly territorial, so it's vital for the sexes to let each other know they're around and ready to mate. They do this by scent marking. Even dust bathing is a way of spreading the male's odor over a wide area. It's like spreading perfumed talcum powder. Pandas only occasionally dust bathe. Messages are normally left at traditional scent marking places such as rocks or the trunks of trees. A female has recently left her calling card on this spot. Scent conveys a surprising amount of information. The sex of the depositor, his or her age, breeding condition, and the length of time since scent marking. It's produced by glands beneath the tail. The male needs to reply, but he's exhausted from his energetic dust bath. He needs time to rest, a consequence of living on a low-calorie diet of bamboo. Now he's ready. By cocking his leg, the male deposits his scent higher up the tree, so helping it to disperse. By the scent already on the tree, he knows there's a breeding female in the area. He'll search now until he finds her. Unlike its larger cousin, a male red panda knows exactly where his females are. They scent mark using both scent and perfumed urine, but they do so all the year round on trails bordering their territory. As each male's territory normally overlaps with those of 2 or 3 females, he'll know his mating partners. He doesn't need to indulge in a frenzy of advertising at the beginning of the breeding season. So unlike its larger cousin, the male red panda has plenty of time to scent mark and feed. There's another difference. The red panda breeds much earlier than the giant panda. By late April, this male is probably already mated with at least 1 female. In the dark underworld beneath the bamboo groves, the bamboo rat has also mated. The sexes occupy different tunnel systems, and it's left to the female to prepare a nest for the young developing within her. Even in spring, it's cold and dank underground, so grooming is essential to maintain the insulating properties of the rat's coat. Without its protection, the bamboo rat would soon succumb to chilling. But above, it's May, and the sleeping dragon stirs. The spring warmth is to the liking of these boisterous primates. They are golden monkeys, found only in China and famed for their golden pelts and bright blue faces. Among the most northerly living of all primates, golden monkeys spend their lives in the trees that roof the bamboo forest. Most of the year they live in troops like this, of around 40 individuals. In summer, when food is plentiful, the troops coalesce into super troops, numbering 300 or more. Mainly vegetarian, they feed on moss, pine nuts, and young leaves. That fabulous yellow pelt was once worn only by Chinese mandarins. Nowadays, hunting is forbidden, and they're steadily increasing in number. Down below, the male red panda is resting with his newest consort. She's the last of his neighboring females to be mated. Soon she'll leave for her own patch of the bamboo forest to rear her family. The giant panda's mating time has not yet begun. Our male has followed the scent trail of the female. He knows from her smell that she's approaching her most fertile period. Timing is critical. She's only receptive for 2 days each year. For the last few days, he's shadowed her continuously, totally oblivious to the presence of any other creature, like this tufted deer. He tests her by trying to mount. She's not quite ready to mate, so his advances evolve into a bout of play fighting. This rough and tumble approach to courtship has rarely been observed before. The robust behavior helps to familiarize the couple before the more intimate contact of mating takes place. The female has finally had enough and needs to feed. She won't go too far. Her home range is quite small and centered on areas of prime bamboo growth. The male doesn't immediately attempt to follow, but he'll soon return to continue his courtship. The mountains of the sleeping dragon boast over 300 kinds of that most varied of flowers, the rhododendron. There's the canopy-wide display of the tree rhododendrons. And in the shade, diminutive kinds flourish with orchid-like blooms. But the flamboyant beauty of the flowers belies a more sinister side to their character. Their fallen foliage secretes a poison which sterilizes the soil. By killing off competing plants, their flowers alone dominate the bamboo forest. In her nest below the clumps of canes, the female bamboo rat has given birth to 3 infants. They're 4 weeks old, and already they've acquired adult skills like grooming. They've also inherited the bamboo rat's voracious appetite. The female is finding it hard to keep her infants fed. Every scrap of foliage and stem is consumed, and as the supply gets low, becomes fiercely contested. The young rat's teeth are not yet strong enough to tackle mature stems, so it strips the hard husk to expose the softer tissue inside. The infant's demands for food put a heavy burden on the mother, so she decides to chance a visit above ground to gather canes from a more distant stand. In the nest chamber, sibling rivalry is becoming intense. With their mother away, it's every rat for itself. Now mated, the female giant panda can devote all her energies to food. Even the bamboo rat could be on the menu. Pandas are closely related to raccoons and portray their carnivore ancestry by occasionally taking carrion and live prey. Our female is newly pregnant, so fresh meat would be a welcome boost of protein and calories. The threat display deters the panda just long enough, and the bamboo rat makes her escape under the dense vegetation. Safe underground, but there's still the problem of feeding her young. The female returns to the less dangerous business of harvesting bamboo stems the conventional way. Over the next few weeks, she'll drag bamboo into the nest chamber 24 hours a day to satisfy her ever-hungry brood. The bamboo rat is not the only creature that must eat continuously by day and by night. After feasting for 8 hours, the giant panda sleeps for 4. This cycle is repeated throughout the day and night. The reason? Bamboo. The giant grass provides so little nourishment that the panda must feed around the clock to extract sufficient energy to survive. Lying down to feed isn't laziness. It simply requires less effort than sitting up. Using its keen sense of smell and curved claws, the giant panda can select the most succulent plants, even on the darkest nights. The red panda has a similar problem. It too must eat its way through the night. Like its black and white cousin, the red panda has the anatomy of a flesh eater and finds digesting bamboo difficult. It's not so much a midnight snack as a compulsory banquet. Water is a dominant feature of the Sleeping Dragon Mountains. It sustains and preserves life among the rocky streams and in the forest itself. Our female red panda takes advantage of a small spring to slake her thirst. The life-giving waters of the peaks are home to the world's largest amphibian, found only in the streams and rivers of central and eastern China. The giant salamander. The water monster, as the Chinese call this creature, reaches a handsome size. Some grow to over 1.5 meters. A water dragon if ever there was one. The giant salamander normally lives all its life in the deepest stretches. Birds, like this Chinese water chat, are also a part of the river scene. From early spring, they are found at regular intervals along the river, advertising their ownership with constant displays of tail flashing. To the ancient Chinese, rivers and rocks symbolized the principles of yin and yang, whose balance ordered the natural world, and which man disturbed at his peril. Above the rivers, in the bamboo forest, water is still crucial to the giant panda. It must drink frequently because it needs to secrete enormous amounts of digestive juices to protect its gut from the jagged, roughly chewed bamboo. And all this fluid must be replaced by drinking. So important is water to giant pandas that they will ignore prime stands of bamboo if there are no pools or streams within half a kilometer. Walking beyond that distance to drink simply demands too much effort from an animal that hovers perpetually on the brink of starvation. There's another major problem for the creatures that live on a diet of bamboo. Every 60 years or so, certain kinds of bamboo simultaneously flower and set seed. Seed eaters like the golden pheasant do well on the crop of food. It's a bird of deep cover and can only rarely be glimpsed in the dense bamboo growth. The abundant seed heads might signal a feast for some, but an impending famine for others. The problem for pandas is that after seeding, the bamboo withers, leading to a serious shortage of food. Bamboo dieback is a problem for any giant panda, but especially for a pregnant female. Luckily, other kinds of bamboo lower down the mountain have a different flowering cycle and are still green. But in this place, the female is surrounded by nothing but dead bamboo. The mother-to-be knows that something is wrong with her valuable food supply, but needs to make absolutely sure. The stems and leaves have long since withered. They are of no nutritional value whatever. Indeed, the panda's actually wasting precious energy chewing it. The female bamboo rat also faces disaster. The roots and stems are dead. Her sole food supply has vanished. Above ground, the stark truth of the panda's situation has finally hit home. Being a specialized feeder is always risky. Now both panda and bamboo rat face but one option: find more bamboo or die. With nothing to stay for, the mother rat and her surviving juvenile embark on a long journey to greener pastures. She's already lost 2 young within the relative safety of her tunnel system, so she waits for the cover of darkness to migrate with her remaining offspring. To reach their new home, they cover more than 3 kilometers a night, a journey that drains their precious reserves of body fat. They try to keep under cover to avoid the predators that lurk at night. With such a dearth of bamboo, there's little opportunity to feed. But the rat must find stands of healthy plants within the next few days if it is to survive the widespread destruction of its staple food around its former burrow system. It's not all disaster. The dead bamboo opens up the forest floor to light, allowing new tree seedlings to gain a footing and establish themselves as vigorous saplings. Even bamboo itself needs trees. To develop normally, the seedlings must grow under the protective cover of healthy trees. But not all the residents of these forests are so reliant on bamboo. The Tibetan macaque eats almost anything. Bamboo shoots, tree foliage, fruits and insects, they're all grist to its dietary mill. Like all monkeys, the female becomes absorbed in grooming her infant's coat. But like all youngsters, it's more interested in play. Being one of the largest of the macaques, the adults are too heavy to join the youngsters swinging around in the treetops. The red panda is not such an acrobat, but it's as happy high up in the trees as it is on the ground. It's late summer, and one of the females is busy sampling the most luscious stands of bamboo. She has, after all, another hungry mouth to feed. This 4-month-old youngster is slowly in the process of being weaned. It accompanies its mother whenever she leaves the den to feed. From her, it'll learn which are the best bamboo thickets and which leaves are ready to eat. Red pandas are solitary, except when raising a family, and rarely venture out of their own territory. If a stranger trespasses, there can be trouble. The interloper has escaped to the top of a tree. Unfortunately, he's still in the territory of the female and her cub. Straight away, the female confronts him. This time, he gives way without a fight. Although tree climbing consumes energy, it does have advantages. It allows the panda to rob birds' nests and to escape from more earthbound predators. Red pandas also climb trees to get out of the cool, dank undergrowth. During cold days, they often sunbathe on the upper branches. They can conserve heat by reducing the blood supply to their limbs, while at the same time passively absorbing energy from the sun. Giant pandas rarely climb trees, unless they're relatively adventurous 1-year-olds on the lookout for excitement. At around this age, juvenile giant pandas begin to explore on their own. This is the most perilous time in their life. They're still small enough to fall victim to Asiatic wild dogs or leopards. So they still like to keep within calling distance of their mother. This juvenile is very wary, and at the first unusual sound, it beats a retreat upwards. Even a leopard will think twice about venturing out onto the thinner branches. But climbing trees can also be dangerous for young pandas. The giant panda, this emblem of conservation, is alas in peril. There are only about 1,000 left in the wild, in 6 isolated populations, and all in China. It's often portrayed as a bumbling and inefficient creature, but left to itself, it's well able to survive. All it requires is sufficient undisturbed countryside and plentiful stands of bamboo. This youngster still has much to learn. He's climbing a little too high for his own good. His mother doesn't appear too worried. Perhaps she's seen it all before. The youngster's unhurt. His fall has been broken by the same plant that will support him throughout his life: bamboo. Early October. As the autumn mists return to the mountains of the Sleeping Dragon, the trees begin their change from green to red and gold. The coming of autumn heralds a change in diet for one of the pandas. Berries are abundant, and the red panda is busily gorging them. This late-born cub and its mother are also attracted to the localized feast, but they must wait their turn. There's a definite pecking order on such occasions, and everyone knows their place. It's small wonder that competition is intense. The sweet berries provide a huge boost of calories and vitamins to help the animals face the rigors of the coming winter. The female and her offspring approach just as the male completes his meal and gives up his place to them at the feeding bush. Inexperience sometimes leads pandas to try bitter-tasting berries, with inevitable results. It'll be a day or two before he tries berries again. Late autumn. Moisture-laden clouds mantle the peaks. Here lives a creature immune to the area's wet conditions. These are takin, known to the Chinese as Niu Jiaoling, cattle of the forest, and distant relatives of the musk ox. The takin's coat probably inspired the Greek legend of Jason and the Golden Fleece. It's well oiled to protect the animal from its wet environment. Takin breed and give birth in the alpine meadows during summer. This young calf is about 4 months old. But as winter approaches, they herd together and slowly browse their way down the mountain slopes in search of fresh pastures. As the cold intensifies, they'll take shelter deep in the bamboo forests of the Sleeping Dragon. The giant pandas have already made their homes beneath the protective canopy of trees. Her baby is born blind, naked, and scarcely 1/1000th of its mother's weight. Now 5 weeks old and well-furred, it's already doubled in size. Its mother's rich milk will ensure its rapid development. Lactation is a big drain on her reserves, so the female frequently leaves the den for a quick snack. The infant objects to being abandoned. For its size, a giant panda cub has one of the strongest calls of any young mammal. The female feeds hurriedly. It's a tense time. She knows that her cub is unprotected, and there may be Asiatic wild dogs around. As soon as she can, she returns to the nest. With luck, and if she's a good parent, she's beginning a 2-year commitment of motherhood. Every young panda is so precious that the Chinese have designated these animals as national treasures. If the giant panda is to survive as a freely living animal, it'll be here in the mountains of the Sleeping Dragon.